So let's talk about a huge concept for any technical writer out there, the Document Development Lifecycle, or DDLC for short. We're going to use an absolutely brilliant article from writerstable.min to walk through the master plan that turns complicated ideas into perfectly clear documents.
You ever just stare at a bunch of notes and think, how on earth does this chaotic mess of product specs, expert interviews, and audience needs actually become a polished professional user guide? Well, I promise you, it's not magic. It's a process, and that process has a name. And that name is the DDLC. You can think of it as the secret recipe that technical writers use to bring order to all that chaos. You've probably heard of the SDLC in software development, right? Well, this is basically the exact same idea, but for documentation. It's a structured path from a messy concept to a finished, shiny product. Now, this whole journey happens across 6 key phases. We've got analyze, design, develop, review, deploy, and finally, maintain. So let's dive into the first part of our journey.
All right, Section 1, a writer's secret recipe. Let's really get into understanding the DDLC.
Section 2, this is all about laying the groundwork with those crucial first 2 phases.
First up is the analyze phase. Honestly, you should think of this as the detective work. You're gathering all the clues, you're understanding the full picture before you even think about writing. And by the way, you really want to get this down because it's one of the most common things you'll get asked about in a technical writing job interview.
So what's actually happening here? Well, you're digging deep into the product, trying to understand everything it does and what it doesn't do. You're talking to the experts, your SMEs, to pull out all those important details. You're figuring out who you're writing for, and this is so important, you're writing all of it down for later.
Once all that research is done and you're feeling confident, you roll right into the design phase. This is where you actually draw up the blueprint for the document.
But listen, here is the most critical part of this whole phase, getting that stakeholder sign-off. I'm not kidding, this is non-negotiable. Putting together a formal proposal and getting that approval before you write a single sentence is what will save you weeks of painful rework later. Trust me on this. Okay, Section 3, bringing the document to life. This is the build process, where the real fun begins. And now we hit the develop phase. The blueprint is approved, the plan is set, it's finally time to start writing.
So you take all those amazing notes from the analyze phase and you start building out the content. A huge part of this is getting your hands dirty and actually using the product yourself. That hands-on experience is gold. It's how you spot those little details that even the experts might have glossed over. And of course, before it goes to anyone else, you give it a really good self-review.
Once your first draft is done, it enters the make or break review phase. Because hey, no document is perfect on the first try. This is the quality check where fresh eyes come in to catch mistakes and make it even better. And look, this is a whole cycle in itself. Your draft goes to the subject matter experts to make sure it's technically accurate. It might go back to the stakeholders for their 2 cents. And then, usually, it goes to an editor for that final polish on style and grammar. You take all that feedback, update everything, and get the final green light.
And once that document is fully 100% approved, it is time to release it out into the wild. Welcome to the deploy phase.
This is where you hit publish. You're putting the content out there using the exact channels you got everyone to agree on way back in the design phase. And because you did that hard work up front, this step is usually super quick and painless. No last-minute surprises, no drama.
All right, Section 4, the document is live, so the job's done, right? Not even close. Now we get to the never-ending final step, maintenance.
And that brings us to our last phase, maintain. And I'm going to be honest, this is the phase that separates good documentation from truly great documentation.
During this phase, you're handling update requests as they pop up, but even more important, you're proactively making changes as the product itself evolves. The whole goal here is to make sure your documentation is a living, breathing resource that is always accurate and always useful.
And this is the most important thing I want you to remember about this whole process. Maintenance is not a finish line. It's a loop. It's a continuous cycle. As the product gets better, the documentation has to get better right along with it.
So, Section 5, your DDLC takeaway. After going through that entire journey, what are the key things you really need to remember?
First things first, let's clear up this common mix-up. SDLC is for building the software. DDLC is for building the documentation about the software. They're related for sure, but they govern 2 totally different things. It's as simple as that. Now, if you want to keep going, you should absolutely explore more articles over on writerstable.in. They're the source for today's entire breakdown. You can also find some amazing tutorials on the Learn Technical Writing YouTube channel, and join the awesome community over at the r/Learn Technical Writing subreddit.
So there you have it, the DDLC. It's a technical writer's map for getting from a chaotic idea to a clear, useful document. You have the framework now. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?